Welcome to Level Up with Hana AlNabulsi on Pulse 95, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of individuals who've achieved greatness in their personal and professional lives. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of meeting Hana AlNabulsi, the youngest Emirati to complete the Ironman 70.3 race in Mexico. I'd love to go to Mexico. With a duration of 7 hours and 9 minutes, Hana's determination and dedication to her sport has earned her a spot in the history books. How many of you can say that? Not many. So grab your popcorn and lugmat and join us here as we explore Hana's journey from her early days as an athlete to her current status as a rising star in the world of triathlon. Hana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today. I'm so happy to be here.
My pleasure. I feel your energy, Hana. Is this normal?
Yeah.
Is it honestly?
Yeah, it's like honestly, like being in the sport, like it's just a reflection of my energy. Like this was literally the best career path I could have ever gotten into.
Yeah. Did
like,
you always know that this was what you were meant to do?
No.
Okay.
No, it was
Where do
not.
we start with that?
Okay, maybe you could go back to literally when I was like 13 years old.
Okay. Yeah.
So prior getting into triathlons, like my background is in running, in ultramarathon specifically.
Right.
My first ever ultramarathon was in Jordan from the Dead Sea to the Red Sea, which was 242 kilometers.
Wow.
And yeah, I was 16 years old. I was rejected when I was 15 to get into this ultramarathon because you have to be qualified to get in.
What qualifies you? Is it age?
No. So it's this bleep test thing. So there's
Okay.
like, there was different stages. So the first test was a bleep test. You have to be fast enough to finish. I don't know if you've ever done it in school. There was like...
Yeah, so every 11 beeps is one level.
Yeah.
And it goes up to 23 levels?
Something like that.
And what is the, because I give this to all my footballers, so that's why I only know, otherwise I'm not a geek. Well, I'm a geek in that stuff, but what's the level that they expect you to do to enter that?
So I think I had to, I can't remember really, like it was like something like 8 beeps, but I can't really remember, but there was a certain like number that we had to reach.
Yeah.
So the first time I tried to do it, I couldn't get in. I was like, okay, fine, let me try for next year.
Right.
So that whole year I was training literally like, I think it was like 3 hours a day.
Wow.
It was kind of ridiculous. And like, I remember telling my friends that like, kind of, why do you even want to do that to Red? I'm like, because like, I just want to. Like, I had no idea why. Like, I just really wanted to do this ultramarathon.
Yeah.
And then so the next year coming, I decided, okay, let me try once more. I tried, I got in. I was like, okay, perfect.
Wow.
And I was put onto a team called Team B. So Team B were like the young kids trying to get into the ultramarathon.
Yeah.
So with that, I thought, okay, khalas, I got in, I made it. You know, that wasn't actually the situation.
Really?
That was the first test. 6 months in, we had our second test, which was a 6-hour run. Okay. And I remember when I was told that, I'm like,
6-hour run?
6 hours. I'm like, what the hell? What's 6 hour? Like, how am I going to run 6 hours?
Yeah.
And my coach was like, well, if you want to do this, that's alright. You're not going to be running 6 hours. You're going to be running like 26 hours. I was like, oh, okay.
See, I just did what you just did. I went, okay. Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I guess I have to do it. So I went and I did the 6-hour run. And when I finished, I was like, what the hell? I still have energy. Like, I can still run some more.
Yeah.
Ended up getting qualified for the ultramarathon. A couple of months after that, it was April, I think. It was April, yeah. We went and did this ultramarathon. And honestly, till this day, I think it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I would honestly never do that ultramarathon ever again.
Really?
It was a one-time thing.
Is it a checklist thing?
At the time, no. I just think I was just stubborn. I'm like, I just want to do this ultramarathon.
Okay.
And because people kept telling me I shouldn't be doing it or like I can't do it, I was like, no, I can do it and I want to do it.
Why would they say that to you?
Because I was 16 to start with. I was pretty young. And this ultramarathon it's one of the longest ultramarathons in the world. So like a lot of people that do it will be training for years for it.
Okay,
So for me, I heard about it. I was like, oh my God, okay, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed with running at the time. Not just at the time, like I was just always obsessed with running. I was part of the cross-country team, track team, and yeah, pretty much both running teams. Okay. And so I just loved it. Like it was my form of like escape from the world. Yeah, like I loved it so much.
You're gonna say that, yeah.
And I remember one of my coaches calling up my mom, was like, listen, you need to take this more seriously. Like she has the legs, she has the stamina, she has the endurance, like take her to the next level. And I remember them talking to me about it. I was like, honestly, no, I don't want to turn this into a career. Like it's too much, like knowing how the Olympics are and how everything is. I'm like, no, I just want to do this because I love doing it. So I never went into it very seriously. Ended up doing this ultramarathon though, and I remember that was kind of when my whole life changed, like my whole perception of the world, our capabilities in this world, and that's where so there was a point where I actually fell and I was bleeding everywhere, like on my legs, and I looked at my coach, I'm like, I'm done. This was maybe 7-8 hours in, he's like, Hana, you've literally been training for this
Wow.
for like 2 years. You're not stopping now, just keep going. He threw you know those Starbucks sugar sachets? He gave it, he was like, just eat it and keep going. I'm like, what?
Wow,
He's like,
okay.
just take the sugar and go. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. So I continued. And I remember when it was like 100 meters before the finish line. I've never sprinted so fast in my life. And then I got to Aqaba and
Yeah.
I passed out for like 2 days. Like,
Really?
it was like dunzos, yeah. But from that moment on, like I was gone.
I love
like,
that.
I
It's
remember
Dunzos. Okay.
I remember getting there. I'm like, wow, I want to enjoy the hotel because like
Yeah.
we were sponsored. I was like, wow, I want to enjoy the hotel, go to the pool. I remember getting to the hotel room. I'm like, okay, I'll shower and then go down. I never left that bed. Like I just laid down for
Really?
a second. I woke up 2 days later. Like it was just
The lead up to that, Hannah, when you run for that long, is it a form of therapy for you?
yeah.
When you're talking about therapy, where do you go here when it comes to your running?
Very good question.
Thank you. I do it for a living. It's not bad. Huh?
Honestly, it's so like a lot of people are like talkers when they come, like when they want to talk about their feelings or whatever it is, whatever they're going through. For me, I've always internalized things rather than really spoke about them. So for me, I would deal with everything mentally while I'm running. So I'd be, let's say like I was just having a really tough day, that's where I'd go cry. Like I'd be running and crying while I'm running. Or like whatever it is, like whatever's going on in life, that was the moment where I was releasing my anger, my sadness, my happiness, whatever emotion I had, that's where I would go. So like it was, whether I was happy, I loved running. If I was sad, I loved running. It was like my escape in everything.
Do you self-talk?
When I'm running,
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah. Actually, just in the endurance races, like the Ironman in Mexico, that one. So that one, a few days before the race, I was hospitalized because of a heat stroke.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, no, that was actually a disaster. Like I remember going for my bike ride. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for 100K today. I go and my hydration finished, and I was in the middle of an island where there was no service, there was nothing, there wasn't even supermarkets like the route I took. So I was like, okay, crap, like what am I gonna do? I'm halfway there, I had to go back. I'm biking back and I started seeing black dots. I'm like, no, girl, you're good. I get back to my Airbnb and I literally just collapsed. I couldn't stop vomiting. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And my friends were with me, thank God. And they're like, I think you're having a heat stroke. I'm like, no, guys, this is not a heat stroke. Like, I just need to sleep. So I go into my bed and I'm like shivering. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I'm
Sweating?
like,
Cold shivers?
Yeah, like it was ridiculous
Yeah.
to the point I went into the shower and I just sat there with my clothes. I'm like, I just need something cold on me. Eventually I go to the hospital and they're like, okay, no, you've had a heat stroke. Like this is like, and they gave me IV drips, whatever it was. And they're like, just don't do the race on like Sunday, Saturday, whatever day it was. I was like, okay, sure. I left the hospital. I'm like, nah, I'm doing it. Like I came all the way here. I've been training for this for so long. Through lockdown, through everything. I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. And so when I was doing that race, it was 30 something degrees and 91% humidity. And I remember the night before, I'm like, let me pray for some clouds for my race, like some rain. Nothing. It was so clear. Like the sky was so blue and it was so hot. And I remember like while I was at this run, my sister's there and she's screaming my name. She called my grandma on Zoom, and they're like running with me. I'm like, guys, I'm dying, whatever. I get to like 100 meters before the finish line, my body just collapsed. I crawled to the finish line.
Wow.
It was the best feeling on the planet.
Nice.
But yeah, like so I'd say like everything kind of goes back to my ultra marathon. Like the moment I was able to believe that I could actually do anything.
Yeah.
When a lot of people thought it was something that was impossible, that was for me. I was like, why is it impossible? Like it's just you're fearful of doing it. You think your body can't do it, but the reality is your body can do it. You just need to train for it.
Do you need people to tell you can't do something to get past the finish line?
No.
Okay.
I think it was just for my first ultra.
So how do you self-motivate?
I think a lot of it is focused on the why. So like, that's how I motivate myself. It's literally the why am I doing this? And I question, like anytime I question, because I will question myself sometimes, I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I remember why I'm doing it and I actually like note them down on my mirror and I keep them on so I could always remember. So like a lot of it is for the children that were exactly like me. So backstory about me as well. So I have dyslexia. So for me, like even in school, I also thought I was stupid. I always thought like, I was like, okay, why can't I do what most people are doing? And it was, obviously it's isolating, you know, like being in that situation and none of your friends understand what you have. Like for me, languages is not, like it's not a thing. Like my letters, if I want to read it, it will take me a very long time to read. It's not easy. So for me, it was like, okay, like I want to do this for kids exactly like me, thinking that, because we all go into school thinking academia is it. Like we are all self-taught that, like from our parents, maybe it's the Arab culture. It's like, no, you're going to come out as an engineer or as a doctor or whatever it is. And that was not something I could do. Like it was just not written for me in the book. So I always grew up thinking I was stupid or like, oh, I can't do something or like whatever it is. So for me, sports was my thing. I was like, this is my why. One of my big whys is I want kids that went through what I was going through to understand that there is so much more and that you can do it. And there is stuff that you just need to look beyond what you're seeing and you will be able to do it.
I love that. The reason why I looked over at Nuha is because one of the questions I always ask my guests, which you already answered, is what is your why? And when you started saying why, that already answered that question. But let me rephrase it. If that was your why, what's your aha moment? What is a moment where you went, okay, I was destined to do this?
Oh, good question. Good question.
Yeah, I try, bro. Yeah, go on.
I would say, which I've had those aha moments. I'm just trying to think of the earliest memory of it.
Or even memories of it.
I remember there was this one time I was at the 25-hour hotel and I was working, and a kid came.
Shout out to Ian.
Hi, Ian. And there was a kid that walked up to me. His name was Muhammad. He's like, I follow you on Instagram. He was maybe like 10 years old or something, or like 11. He's like, I follow you on Instagram and I want to do what you're doing.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, okay, start running with me. He's like, no, I don't know how to run. I'm like, it's literally walking, but just walk faster. He was like, no, but I'm scared of running. And in that moment, I was like, this was meant for me.
Yeah.
This is literally what I'm doing it for. Like, it's to inspire the next generation. Because I feel like we're all put in these boxes that we self-made or just accepted because of society. And it's just something I've never believed in. So like, it's like inspiring the next generation that thought their dreams are too crazy. It's like, no, if they're crazy, go do them. It doesn't mean like you're not going to be able to do it. It's just crazy because everyone around you is telling you it's that 1%, but the 1% is all you need to actually make it happen. Like if it's something that's impossible, which frankly I don't think anything is, then okay, that's a different story. But like if there's that 1% chance of you doing it, do it. Like you could do it.
One of the things about having guests like yourself on the show, which is great for me as a host, is level up is not necessarily always about the final destination. It's about the journey. And you've had your fair share of setbacks and challenges.
Oh yeah.
Can you share with the listeners what sort of things you've had to endure to level up?
Oh, I don't even know where to start. Like, this was like
Things like whether it was mental, whether it was things that were maybe playing in your mind. Because I always hear from some of the best authors in the world that your greatest enemy is between your ears.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, I always relate to that because I feel that sometimes I'm my worst critic. Have you faced that as well?
Yeah. Like I am, honestly, I think I am the harshest person on myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that it's a continuous obstacle for me. Like it's not something that I've ever been able to subside in my mind, but in a way I feel like it's something that does take me to the next level. Like I'm never, like let's say most recent race I had a run and I did great. I got 3rd place. It was an insane race.
Yeah.
And I left it. I was like, I'm not happy. Like I'm like, why didn't I get 1st place?
Okay.
And it's like, but why? Well, like, why can't I just be happy with the fact that I got a 3rd place? And I did great. Like I was hitting PBs, and it was a wonderful race. But I left it. Literally, my first thought was, why wasn't I 1st? And I'm like, okay, what can I do to be 1st? And it's like, why can't I just be happy with my 3rd place? And it's something. It's just. Like it's like I'm trying to prove to myself. There's no one else I'm trying to prove this to. Like that's the funny thing. It's like I'm trying to prove to myself I could get to the level I want to get to physically.
Yeah.
And not just for myself, I guess. It's also to because a lot of people think people get into like world champs status or titles, whatever it is, because of talent. And I honestly do not believe that's really the case. I think it's genuinely hard work that people do to get to that level. The amount of sacrifices they have to give up in their lives, like their social life, their traveling, just having fun in general. Not having fun, like let's say for me, like I love what I'm doing, so for me it is me having fun. But like for some people, it's like they've lost the joy of doing what they're doing, but they still keep going because it was a goal that they've set. So I guess like it's just a constant mental struggle. I guess it's like you have to just push yourself to a different level mentally to kind of take a step back as well and notice what you're doing. But like I think I could speak for all athletes. Like we're very harsh on ourselves because we're not just doing it just for the sake of doing it. We're doing it for the reason we're doing it. So everyone has their whys. Like one of the whys I just spoke about was to influence the kids like me when I was younger. But other reasons are it's to also show people like it's not talent, it's hard work, and to also show people it's, let's say as a woman, like as a woman, especially in not just in the Middle East,
in the region,
like just in general, women in the sports world aren't seen as valuable as men, which is understandable to an extent, but it's not. It shouldn't be.
Why is it understandable?
Because biologically, let's say like that's the reasons I've been told. It's not something I necessarily agree with, but a woman will eventually, at some point, want to stop playing sports because they want to get kids, they want to get pregnant, get kids, and that kind of puts a pause in your athletic career, and then a lot of like sponsors, endorsements, whatever it is, they will stop. So your career is kind of over by then. But that's not something I believe in. Like there is a track star, Allison, I forgot her last name, Allison, for the US, she's like one of the best runners. She won the Tokyo 2020 gold medal. She has 2 kids, she has a business, and she's still the world champ. So like in my personal opinion, it's not the case, and that's something I want to also prove. Being an Arab woman, being an Emirati woman as well, it shouldn't be limiting us. Like gender should not be a thing to limit, because there are people that have done it. So why can't I do it? Why can't whoever go and do it as well? It's like just paving that pathway for the woman after me, the woman with me on the same path. Like it's kind of we need to make it happen. Like it's no longer the reality. Like whoever thought that at some point, things have changed. Like it's not the way it is anymore. Yeah. So it's kind of also to like,
I'm talking to you as a friend now, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, the reason why I asked that question to you is because I feel the responsibility now of a partner, I won't even say a male, when a female is competing in sport, is to be able to endure moments where you do things as a team, and if you have to put your family or creating a family on hold, and I speak from experience because my wife is an athlete as well. She's captain of the national team.
Oh, wow.
And so me wanting to have kids, or us wanting to have kids, is on hold until she lives this moment and enjoys it and shines in it and thrives in it. Until then we can look back and enjoy those moments with our kids. So there will always be a time for that if everything is willing and God's willing, that's going to happen. But I think long are the days where the stereotype and generalization of females not being able to reach the heights they want to reach because of the social pressure that they have to go under a certain stereotype are long gone. And when I asked you that question, I had my interpretation of it. But that's the beauty of Level Up, is I get to ask fantastic people like yourself your opinion. But in my opinion, as a coach, as an athlete, and as a partner now, as a husband, it's our responsibility to be able to fill in the gaps when needed, because let's face it, women are the real superheroes. That comes from the way the mothers have raised us. It's true, it's a fact.
Yeah,
and I'm very, very strong about that. The relationship I have with my mom is massive.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with that, because that's the first person you open your eyes up to. That's the beauty of the woman. The baby looks at the mom, and that's the first person you see, and you fall in love with that person, and then later on you have a chance to create your own version. So I think, despite whether I was born in the UK or not, I think long are the days that the Middle East and the region fall into that category. And hearing you say that, especially when you said, that's not my opinion, I think that's the moment which I like the most. But I wanted you to say it, and so I'm glad you did.
It's because people have told me that. They're like, yeah, but like once you decide like you want to get married and get kids, like what are you going to do? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep going. Like there isn't like. Yeah. So it was something that was told to me multiple times, and I'm like, this is not the world we're living in anymore. Like there is ways around it. Yeah. And like this Allison track star, she gave birth, and then she gave birth like the year of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, and she went and won the gold medal. Yeah. Like it was a couple months later. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading the articles, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, this is insane, this is history. She just made history. And I want to also make history with her. Like I want all of us women to be able to continuously make a legacy for us women and break all the status quos and just, you know, push these boundaries and make it happen. Like it's...
What's your goal?
To get into the Olympics.
I like that.
Yeah.
When are we getting into the Olympics?
I'm aiming for the 2024 Paris Olympics.
All right. Okay. Would you come on and talk about it once you've done it?
100%.
Because I want to be that fly on the wall that said I was there when she told me. And you have another supporter now in me. So yes. We're in this together now. That's why I said we, not you. Something they don't teach us at school is how to handle things like mental health. And I'm a massive advocate of that.
Yeah.
How do you handle it?
So for me, like obviously, like there is the second I decided I want to take this into a professional career and get into the Olympics, there's my races, every race I do, honestly, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I know every number of mine counts and every race counts as well. So literally, I think the past 10 races I've had, I've finished the race and I've vomited. Like I just couldn't stop vomiting because I put so much stress on myself because I want to make sure I'm getting these numbers. There was actually which race was it? It was the Abu Dhabi World Triathlon race I think it was in February. That race, I felt great. I was like, okay, let me just like calm down, whatever it was, before the race. And then I go on to the race, 300 meters before the finish line, something just flipped in my stomach and I couldn't stop vomiting. Like I had to just stop. Like I could see the finish line. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And I couldn't stop. I wasted like a good 7 minutes, I want to say, because I just couldn't move. And I went and I finished the race. And then after all of that, like the last 2 races I've had, that's when I noticed my mental health is what has been making me vomit in these races. Like I didn't really notice how much stress I'm putting myself under till my last race where like I couldn't keep whatever in. And so now what I'm trying to do, not just trying to do it, like I'm actively doing, is reminding myself that this is something I love. I'm doing this because I have fun doing it. So I'm reminding myself of the reasons what even got me into this whole world. It's something I love doing. I love running. I love biking. I've learned to love swimming.
Okay.
And it's something I enjoy doing. Like the whole triathlon community is insane. Like I've built a whole family. Like we are straight up a family. And I need to remember that like no matter what happens, the whole journey of it is a fun journey. And so I'm constantly reminding myself of this, not to take it too seriously, because whatever does happen will happen. I just need to put in 100%, and some races will be crap and other races will be great, and I just need to accept that. So I've actually been doing like a lot of breath works as well recently.
Wim Hof?
Wim Hof, yeah. And he's a man. But yeah, like it's mental health obviously it's a huge thing, and I think a lot of athletes do struggle with that as well because of the pressure that we put on ourselves. No one's putting it on us, it's us doing it to ourselves. I guess no, there's some people, they do have external pressures, but let's say personally for me, I'm doing it to myself. Like it's something I'm continuously learning. Okay. I wouldn't be able to give you like my do's and don'ts for your mental health because I'm still learning as I'm going.
You're a product of it.
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, listen, we all are. That's why I say that. We all are. The other thing I want to say, when you were talking, I was kind of thinking that we normally refer to our gut health as the second brain. And one of those things that, when you say I have a gut feeling, how is your intuition? Have you got a strong intuition?
Oh, yeah.
And energy-wise?
I believe I have a sixth eye, the sixth eye. I believe that.
Yeah. So when you enter a room, can you tell whether you're comfortable, whether you're not, whether someone's good, whether someone's bad, whether you should be in that space? Are you on that level with frequency?
100%.
Okay.
Like it's pretty funny. Like with some people, they'll say I'm the most extroverted person they've ever met. Right. And then with some people, I'm the most introverted they've ever met. Yeah. And that's not because that is straight up because of the energies I've walked into. Okay. If I feel like there is a bad sense of energy, I just revert back. I'm like, nope. And I've been like that, I think, my whole life, and I never understood it till I understood it. I was like, okay, that's what it is. Nice. And so I'm very strong with that. Like, if I feel anxious in a room or like talking to someone, I'm like, no, that's like.
I'm so glad she came back. When she went to the bathroom, I thought there was crazy energy or something, but she came back, which is great. For someone that does all these incredible things, Ironmans, triathlons, you name it, The question I want to ask you is, how do you reset?
What do you mean by that?
How do you remove yourself, disconnect, block out the noise, and then enter back into your world?
So funny enough, the escape or like the reset is what I'm doing. So
Okay.
for me, it's like I've been asked, like they're like, okay, what do you do on the side? Like, do you have any other hobbies? I'm like, this is my hobby.
Yeah.
This is
You do what you
actually-
love.
I do what I love.
Mm.
So like for me
I
to
like that.
reset, it's actually I don't actually need to do anything because it is what I like. It is my reset, but it's also my life.
Mm.
But like, let's say if I want to just shut off from the whole world,
Mhm.
then I will travel. Like I love traveling.
Where?
So the last place I went to was Finland. But like I like exploring new places.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like I love tropical islands.
Okay. Give me 3 places that you've liked.
My favorite 3 places.
Yeah.
Okay, that's hard. I'd say Mexico,
Okay.
Cozumel, specifically Cozumel.
Okay.
Russia, St. Petersburg.
Really?
I love that place. Like the amount of history that's there, it's
Okay.
insane.
Okay.
Another place. Oh, this is hard. Finland. Finland is very, very different.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's very, very different. Like it was a different world. And like I went to the Santa Claus area. What was it called? Lapland. I went to Lapland, and honestly,
Yeah.
that was one of the most insane places I've ever been to in my life. Like it wasn't Earth. Like it was a different world. It was insane.
Mm. From the things you've mentioned to me and the people that have told you no and that you can't, do you have role models that have done similar things?
Similar things, but not in my field.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Like who?
my dad.
Nice.
Yeah, he's honestly, I think one of my biggest role models, like since I was a kid. He's established himself in ways that, like till this day, like anytime I just want to remind myself like everything's possible, I will read up about him. Like he was the youngest VP for Merrill Lynch. He was 27 years old when he was announced as a VP of Merrill Lynch. Prior to that, he was told by everyone around him that this is not his career path.
Right.
He was in the investment banking world. He is in the investment banking world, and his first ever investment went completely wrong. So in that moment, like everyone was telling him and yelling at him, they're like, "You can't do this. Like this is just not okay." So for a whole year, he literally shut off the world.
Yeah.
He went and did his CFA, Series 7, did whatever it was, all in the span of a year, and literally shocked the whole world. Like he
Love
became
that.
like So like till this day, I will remember like he was the youngest till date VP for Merrill Lynch, and Merrill Lynch at the time was like the biggest investment bank organization. I think it's still one of the leading ones, I'm not sure. But after that, and then he also like went and became the youngest CEO for DIFC. He was 32, I want to say, 31.
Okay.
So when I see what he's done, I'm like, this is insane. Like he built himself from 0 to 100, and I want to do that. And like anytime I have doubts, he's the person I'll go to. He's like, no, let's strategize. How are you going to get there? How are you going to get into the Olympics? I'm like, I need to find the best coach, the best community, the best whatever. He's like, okay, go find them and get them on board, and let's make this happen. So that's what I went and did. And I'm being trained right now by like the legend of coaches. Like he's insane. Like I even remember going to Kuwait recently, and they're like, "Oh, you're Joao's athlete." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh my God, this man! Like, his reputation's insane. Like he has literally taken underdogs and turned them into champions. Like he's insane. Like I'm so blessed to have him as my coach." So that was his strategy. He's like, "Let's make this happen. How are we gonna make this happen? Find A, find B, find C, whatever it is, and turn it into a team and go for it." So I would say, is my #1 role model.
Okay. Amazing, I like that. You got me hyped now. Last question before I let you go, and thank you, buddy. You've been fantastic.
Thank you.
If you could chat to a mini version of you,
Yeah.
who's young and about to face the world that you're facing, what advice would you give her?
Just have fun. Just go and have fun. Don't stress so much. Like do what you love, and screw whatever anyone else thinks. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Like that's the adventure of it all. Like life is just an adventure. Just have fun.
Yeah, and that's the perfect way to end our Level Up episode. By the way, that flew for me, and I enjoyed listening to your story.
Thank you.
I think it's great because I think it's also a form of showing that the journey is just as important as the destination, and you're on your way to even more fantastic things, even though you've done incredible stuff and you've reached incredible heights. There's much more to come. So thank you very much for being on Level Up Show.
Thank you so much for having me today. I had so much fun with you guys. Thank you.